All right, this is John Chen. It's now 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, of course, the thing that you want really is the weather report. So, here we have the weather report here in Satellite Beach. It is now balmy 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Looks like the tide is about 1 to 2 inches, and wind is coming out 10 miles from the east. That's right, it's from the east. So there's your weather report. And I got two interviews in one day. And this interview should be, as usual, amazing. So feel free to hang out and tune in. I got a chance to meet this gentleman, and I believe he's got one of the coolest glass setups that I've seen in quite a while. He's going to share with you. He's also got amazing experience, is an author, and we'll get a chance to share what he's doing on virtual. Let's bring in the one and only Rob Salafia. Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, John. Very, very well, but maybe not quite as well as you because I'm in the Boston area and it snowed and ice storm this morning. I was out at 11 a.m. It was 10 a.m. this morning with the ice scraper on my driveway. Oh, it was 30 minutes of de-icing, basically 2 inches of hard pack ice on my driveway.
You're like the airlines now. Like you need a professional de-icing unit.
That's pretty much what I needed this morning.
Oh, geez.
So
Well,
being in Florida with that little bit of sunshine, that 78 degrees, man, you're killing me here.
I'd kill him like half of the country, Rob, and I don't know why. It's like we paid a little extra for this Airbnb, and now every day it appears to be worth it. Like one of the key elements of this Airbnb is just flat out making people jealous, Rob. But people should be jealous because you're going to get a chance to meet Rob. Rob, for our friends that are here online, why don't you tell them who you are and what you do?
Well, thanks. I am a learning leader. I am an executive coach. I bring the best out in people. I take my background in 20 years in theater and the performing arts. If you look at my background here, you see a picture of a wire walker. That's what I used to do. I was a tap dancer. I still take lessons, storyteller. And so now I help business leaders improve their executive presence, connect authentically with others, and use stories and storytelling to bring their ideas to life, create momentum behind their ideas. And I'm doing it all virtually now. Pretty much, I'd say 90% of my work right now, John, is virtual. I have a home office shed in my backyard. I got this before COVID too. It's 14 by 24 with a 14-foot high ceiling, natural background. And I use OBS software, and people like the opportunity to connect, and they like the virtual sessions.
Yeah, you get a chance to connect all over the world. By the way, I got a peek over here in my LinkedIn session. Let's see, Marianne Clintron. She's trying to figure out where we are, and she says even California has hail, rain, and snow. So, anyways, thank you for chatting us up here on the LinkedIn. We're tuning in live here. So, Rob, you have
sounds like Boston, not California.
No, California has a blizzard warning. Didn't you hear that?
Man.
Southern California, for like the first time in like 3 decades, has a blizzard warning.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're not alone. You're not alone, Rob. But your experience here is, and some of those things that we're doing here do add to that experience, right? And some of this is like here, I'll drop background here. And one of the things to do is like I showed this. This is a little preview of my setup, and because I'm remote, Rob, I'm not in my office, and so. I brought a bunch of extra equipment because I was at a trade show, and now I like had this setup. I'm like, what can I set up? And actually, you can see the one key feature up above is that the camera pointing out the window to the left, right, which is this camera, and with all that equipment, the best part is that it all adds up to one of the most important things, like this. If you see this, right, you can see Rob's lighting is great. His camera's great. The soft lighting is what happens from the camera in the back. And all these small things, I think, add up to creating connection with people here virtually. And Rob, I'd love to know. I mean, you, again, in the past were a performer, so you know that
Yes.
connection to your audience is so important. I'd love to know, how do you translate uh, what you did in person to virtual? And, some of it are tech tips and some of them are human tips. I'd love to hear a smattering of like your favorite things.
Perfect. So if I think about my journey, it's kind of the same journey that everyone has been having for the past 3 years. So, but I kind of put mine on fast forward, kind of like you. It's a fast forward. So I'm on my laptop, my office on the other side of the room, and I'm looking down at the screen, and I look, it's like I'm looking down at the screen, and I think to myself, I could do better than this. That's always been my thinking, always continual improvement. So I lifted it up because it needs to be level set. And I look at it and I go, man, the lighting is horrible. What can I do about it? Can I get a better picture quality? Then I got a webcam, but the webcam was like, was like one of those fisheye almost, So yeah,
It's
it
like a
was a wide,
GoPro,
it was
right?
a wide picture,
Bending stuff.
and it made my
Yeah, yeah.
face like really narrow. And I looked at it, and I was doing programs for MIT. I thought they were great. I looked at it, I went, this looks fantastic. It's kind of looking like when you look at an old VHS tape. Back then, the VHS, I have recordings of me as a street performer at Faneuil Hall Marketplace in Boston. And when I first recorded those, I thought they were brilliant. They looked amazing. I look at those now, they're all bleedy images. They were like horrible pictures. So it was the same thing. And then I went, I could do better than this. Then I bought a 65-inch screen. I said, I have to get some way to look so that I'm looking directly into the camera, and then people feel like that. So I put the screen like 10 feet away, and I put my camera, and I bought a Panasonic GH5. Actually, no, first I bought a Sony 6400. I bought a Sony 6400, and I put
That's
it
a
right in
camera.
between, about 5 feet between me and the TV. But I'd be like this, I could see it, but I'd have to always be like looking around like this, looking around like that. And the other thing about the 6400 is certain cameras that you buy, some of them are not workhorses. In other words, you have to keep them cool. They'll overheat and they'll shut down. So I did some research, and I found the Panasonic Lumix GH5, and they're the GH5 II. It's a workhorse. I can leave that camera on all day and it doesn't heat up. So you have to learn kind of those tricks. So the camera, the camera is everything. And I said, there's still got to be a better way. There's still got to be a better way. And that's where all the innovation comes from. And so I've been using a teleprompter to do some of my recordings. And then have you ever seen one of those presidential teleprompters? It's like just a pane of glass.
Yeah.
It's on an angle. It's just on a stick, right? It's just on a pole. And you see them at a lot of these big conventions, but also they call it presidential teleprompter. I said, something like that. I need it. And I found this website that makes the beam splitter glass. And so I figured out the size. I figured 30, it's like the size of a 32-inch television.
Yeah.
Like 28 inches wide, but that's on the bias. And then I bought right here, you can't see it. And I have to apologize. I didn't have the second camera set up to be able to see, you could see the picture. But I'm happy, if anyone's interested, I'm happy to send you this information. I have a 43-inch television right here that is on an angle that's projecting up to the glass. And I have my camera behind the glass with a shroud. I'm looking directly into your eyes right now. Nothing is in the way. Bam. There's only one downside. You can flip the image. So in case, and I do OBS software where I put my images right into my picture.
Yeah.
But I see the names backwards, like right, you see where you have something at the bottom of your screen.
Yes.
So I'm getting really good at reading backwards, so that's a skill that I'm developing, an adjunct skill to this whole system. But that's a technology. The technology.
Wait a minute. No, yeah, wait a minute. Some televisions have the ability to flip. So to
Right.
mirror back the image, so would that fix it or would that break it? I forgot.
I haven't figured out how to flip the television image. I flip it on Zoom, but
Yep.
I've tried to flip it on the television, but I haven't been able to figure it out here. So
Well,
if anybody knows how to do that, let me know.
I know there's a way to do it, but it'll be interesting. So the key here, though, that Rob really did is that, I mean, number one is that is being dissatisfied is really one of your secret weapons here. Is just saying, I
Yeah,
know it could be better, because you know what? Everybody like at that, like after the end of 2020 said, this is good enough, or whatever that was.
exactly.
And now it's 2023, and I think one of my big messages for 2023 is that you need to elevate. You need to elevate something, right? And for most people's setup, right, there is something that is really either cheap or easy that you can elevate in your setup
Yes.
that can really do that. Like a microphone is really one of the key ones, right? And again, a great camera is the next one. But Rob's really gone next level. By the way, I have never seen anybody with Rob's setup, but that's one of the reasons why I brought him on. And so what he has there, for those who don't know, is right, is like if you've ever seen a teleprompter, he's basically built a Zoom teleprompter, which is not showing text, but it's showing people. So he can look in the glass. And especially with right now, if there's only me, he can actually spotlight me or pin me, and his camera should be right around here at this eye level. So he naturally doesn't have to do anything else except talk to me. And then, that's why people feel more connected to Rob. And it's
Yep.
because he's done the hard technical work and he's got performer work, which is he knows that when he's performing, deliver your most important messages, right, to the eyes.
So it goes like this. When you work, when I work this hard on the image, and then one of my coaching clients says, Rob, it feels like you're right in the room with me. That does it, right?
That was worth all the effort at all, too, right?
That's worth all the effort, because that's the sense of connection. And then the other thing that I learned as a performer is that I'm always thinking about it from the audience perspective.
Yes.
When I first started as a performer, when I I would look and I would see, I'd see really seasoned performers, 200, 300, 400 people around them, effortlessly keeping them engaged. I would get like 15 or 16 people around me, and I would be nervously trying to keep them, and then like the wind, they just like go. I was cajoling my audience to be with me. And that never worked. That was always awkward for the audience.
Yeah.
And so then I realized I had to make myself interesting. And the only way I could make myself interesting was by becoming interested in my audience.
Mm.
So now I think from the audience point of view. In other words, I want to give my audience my eye so they feel like I'm connected to them. And I want my audience always, whoever it is, one-on-one, or if I'm teaching a class, to feel like this is my most important meeting of the day. So that means I have to project my energy. I have to manage my transitions, I call it, master my transitions.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I'm not rolling in hot. Like I came into this meeting 10 minutes beforehand. You had your thing playing. I'm looking around and saying, so I have everything, right? And I don't want to be like this guy, John, right? This is not the guy I want to be like. I want to be able to bring my energy forward. I want to have good energy. I want to be able to make sure that I have, I've taken a breath in between so that I can have more of that sense of nice calmness. I want to make sure that it doesn't feel like, the other people don't feel like I'm totally unaware of the impact that I'm having in that room at that time. I want to be aware. I want to create energy in the room. And that means we have to project our presence into the virtual space as much as we do when we're in person.
Yeah, even these small things here, right? So like you've seen, I'm trying to do this, which is okay. I'm crafty. I can be at the beach, but still, look, the Zoom actually has gotten better. But still, all these things right there, all these artifacts are all things that your brain will pick up as the audience going, wait a minute, he's not actually there, right? And so there is this, I know there's I think there's a lot of people that have a large debate between natural backgrounds and green screens. Now, again, a green screen does what I did better, It's still not perfect, but it's still way better than what Zoom's doing here is pretending like there's a green screen. So it's got to figure out stuff. But leaving this camera natural, though, quite often, and I told for some people, is really key. So again, if you're an executive, maybe if you're in sales, there's some other key elements where if one of the key things that you want your audience to know is your authenticity, is that design your background in such a way so that it can be just left on like this. Again, I'm traveling, so it's a little bit harder. Again, although I do have a nice art over here, but again, you put something over there too. For instance, the top hat, I believe, is from some of your tap dancing. And what's the painting?
So this right here is a wire walker. I wanted an image that was a darker color that had a nice like feel to it. Mm-hmm. And so I found this image and I went, ooh, that's not me, but it looks like it could have been me, because I was a wire walker. I didn't have that good image. So this one is really close.
Mm-hmm. It means something. My book. Too. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, the wire walking image means something to you.
It means something. So I have my guitar right. There I am right here. Yeah. I have the little Buddha right here.
Yeah.
They all represent aspects of the elements of my teaching. And they also grab attention, and people go, they wonder about this, and it opens up a conversation.
That's the key too, by the way, for attendees, right? If you don't have a question about the content, right, ask your teacher or facilitator or whoever it is about stuff around there, because again, most of the people who are intentional about what they're choosing in the background, they'll tell you a story. They'll tell you a story about some of those things. Like Rob probably doesn't know. The big plastic balls that they have for a circus?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. Did you know that I actually know how to walk on one of those?
I have one right here in my office.
Oh, see, now we have something in common.
I have an orange one right here. It's not plastic. It's actually fiberglass.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And it's one of the, if people go to my website, protagonistconsulting.com, there's an opening video that they can play, and they'll see me standing on one of these.
The hard part is not just standing on them, but it's the initial getting on for the experiential lesson. You have to really step up to get. That's what I had to learn, right? To step up on that. And here's one of the fun parts, Rob. I'm one of the few people that can actually. I have squatted on one of these balls and then been able to jump to another ball.
Oh,
that's really hard, by the way.
Oh, really hard.
I was a skateboarder, Rob. I grew up
That's right. So one of the things we need to make ourselves light. So I have the 3-word phrase: breathe, connect, land. So that when I get up on the ball or the wire, it's always I'm breathing in and I'm lifting myself up. So I'm making myself light. And then it's an immediate pattern to step up. But I want to go back to a thought you said. And the thing about virtual world is that it begins with awareness. I can't tell you how many people I've coached that they're sitting in their room, they're looking down at their screen, and they have the propeller going like this over their head from the ceiling fan.
I actually have a ceiling fan, and I purposely kept it out of this camera. Yeah.
Right. So I call it propeller head. Yes. So I remember this one senior leader, very senior leader in this retail outfit. And I said, John, you've got propeller head. And he was totally unaware. And the next time, because I made light of it, but the next time, boom, he had the camera level set. It looked much more professional, and it highlighted him. It brought him to life. In other words, I could connect more easily with him than when he was standing like this, just like looking down at me.
And the visual for most people's eyes is seeing that motion all the time. Is like after a while you don't want to see that motion, because first you're like, what is that? And then you're like, oh, it's a fan. And then after a while, it's like, oh, it's annoying. And then the worst part is you attach annoying to the person who's in the video.
Oh, that's it. Connection. That's the wrong connection you want to be making.
Yeah, that's not the connection that you want. So, I appreciate that, because, again, all those things that are happening in here, all have that. It's part of our key principle called good looks, right? Your virtual background is key to the image that you present of yourself. And so that's why you should be very conscious around that and
Right.
decide what you choose. And again, some of these other items, use the best tools that you can get to it so that you can look great for that. Another tool that I've been using, Rob, is right now, I've been using a tool called Yoodli, Yoodli. It's from Washington State, and it's an AI for speech patterns. And now, Rob, if you might listen carefully, or at least I'm trying to monitor, I've been working very hard to get rid of the word from my vocabulary, because there's nothing worse than a great executive who's she's starting to deliver her message. And then all of a sudden it's like, right. And the problem is the credibility starts crashing like this. And I didn't realize how much I was doing it, because I'm an improv speaker for the most part too, Rob. Like, I don't often read teleprompter. That's not my
Yes.
style. And that means that I got to fill sometimes when I'm thinking about stuff. And I was filling it with all these things, and it was really hurting me. As early as I started using it in November, and I've got my filler words down from 6% to 3%, because this is something that AI is actually really good at. It went
That's
in
right.
and analyzed all my audio and then told me all these things. And I've been able to move to, like, from the number one the number one used filler word to number 6. So I'm curious for you,
Perfect.
Rob, either what technology or non-technology things that you're using for your virtual presence.
Well, thank you very much for that and for the question. I, with my background in theater, work on a specific breathing technique that actors use when they first read text. It's developing a vocal cadence, and it's a breathe in, speak out cadence. Now, I've trained myself to do this. When I'm on stage, I'll smile. Now, normally, when we breathe in and out through our nose. That's healthy because that's the way our system is designed. But when you're on stage, breathing in through your mouth is the most efficient way to get air in quickly. And so smile first and breathe in around your teeth and go. And then when you speak out, you breathe out at the same time.
Ah,
And the way to start, this is what I do with my students or anyone that I'm working with. Breathe in. And then it's like when a doctor puts a tongue depressor on in your mouth and says, say, ah, breathe
thank
out and say the sound ah, like this. Ah. When you do that, you've connected your breath to your sound that you're making.
you. Uh-huh.
And then I give people 3 sentences to complete. And it's I don't know if you noticed just then, as I was about to speak, it was a light breath in I took, I filled my lungs up, my face gets open, I'm smiling, and then I begin to speak as I breathe out.
Ah.
So take a line like this. In the past, I was known as an entertainer of large audiences. Now, if I was to say that without breathing, I would say, in the past, I was known as an entertainer of large audiences. Now, I'm known as a facilitator of transformational programs. In the future, I want to be known as someone that's truly made a difference in the lives of others. Now, that was good, right? It's good. But let me put the breathing cadence in, the breathe in, speak out cadence, and see if you see the difference. In the past, I was known as an entertainer of large audiences. Now I'm known as a facilitator of transformational programs. In the future, I want to be known as someone that's truly made a difference in the lives of others. So what did you see as the difference between those two?
Well, I love Rob because, the impression that I get from the first sentence should sound something like this, which is, in a world, right? Which is like every movie trailer that exists with that. This actually brings out too our good friend Rachel Kassar, who is that virtual
Yes.
sidekick, who we both know. Also published this about 2023. It says the number one thing that you can do for your presence is variance, your cadence, and your pitch. And
Yes.
people are not doing it, right? What happened in Rob in this first sentence is like, when people rush, I'm a performer that does all these kind of things. And so people start talking at 180, words per minute. But if you stop, actually, they said pausing is the number one way to get rid of filler words.
Yes.
And that pausing now becomes really powerful if you do it right, because it can help accentuate the point.
So the breathing cadence facilitates that.
Mm.
And so it allows you to always have your lungs full of air.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn how not to have it be so loud. Like if you're a singer, you don't ever want to hear that breath come in. But in acting, all bets are off, because they say in Shakespeare, if you're not spitting, it's not Shakespeare. You have to get the words out. They're so dense. You have to be able to have a good, fast catch breath, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But you should always have a full lung of air in order to have the power behind your words. And when I do that, you'll notice that my voice can get lower, deeper, and more resonant naturally, because that's the breath carrying the words. You open up your lungs and you can have variance in your words. I mean, in your variety, your tone can change, your pitch can change, your speed can change. All of those nuances in your voice, which create meaning, can now come out. As opposed to being the CFO that has one note and they talk like this and they just don't, they're just expressionless, and they say how incredibly excited they are right now.
Rob, I have to tell you, I have to share with you that I was at the conference. We were at Training Magazine conference here in Coronado Springs at Disney World. And I had a guest tell me that her boss is monotoning a 90-minute town hall. And she's trying to figure out, how do I tell him, that this is hurting the brand. This is not helping him. This is hurting. Like, people are cringing at going to this meeting where in a town hall, if you do it right, you can affect the direction of the company. You get the motivation and the direction and be the excitement. And now
connect people to the purpose of what you're doing.
And now this person is killing it because they're doing 90 minutes. By the way, he's an analytical. I didn't even meet him. And all I figured out from him was an analytical, because they did the company survey, Rob. And when they did the company survey, they had 78 questions, Rob. And when they had 78 questions, guess how many did they go through in a 90-minute town hall?
Everyone.
Shoot me at number 4.
Oh my God.
It's a true story. It's a true story. So,
as opposed to picking out, oh, here's a good one.
Yeah,
Susan from Iowa is asking a question. Yeah. She wants to know. Boom, there it is.
What's our next company policy? How are we going to deal with coming out of COVID, right? What are we dealing with about the supply chain? So, all those things where talk about the issues that people matter, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be rich and real.
So one of the things that your friend could do is, if she had any film of him, yes, if there's a recording of it,
yes,
and then meet with him, and without saying a word, show that, and then show another video of someone that has expression, and say, I'm just going to show you two. Tell me what the difference is. They have to feel shocked to see that they are totally unaware of what they're doing and the impact that it's having on the people and the environment around them.
They just did this with the top and the bottom ranked TED Talks. Have you seen this, Rob?
I have not.
So in the top rank, or in the top ranked TED Talks, they said the one key element of the top 10 versus the bottom 10 were the number of hand gestures. Right?
Absolutely.
The bottom 10 were just doing this.
This is it. This is it. So, I mean, this is one of the things that I teach from public speaking and getting up in front of an audience is I do this. So if I'm coming back here, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm always going to be lifting up and moving my arms up like this. And I'm
Yes.
going to stay open to my audience. And I've trained myself now that this is comfortable.
Yeah.
This is not uncomfortable anymore.
Yes.
Because I've trained myself as a storyteller when I was performing. It's like hug your audience and draw them into you, bring them into you. Always bring them in. Get closer and have a conversation with one person at a time.
That's the fun part too, if with cinematic work too, is like you can play to the camera. You can,
Right.
I
Exactly.
actually, I will, you're not supposed to be that close to the camera, but I have purposely on like a key point in my talk, I go back and I go, well, in one of the cruelest jokes that I think ever played on me, they said, we don't know how long coronavirus is going to last. So they told me to rush the book. Right. So when you get in like that, right, you don't do it the whole time, but if you do it at a point that's emphatic, that's helping your message, people laugh. And then there's the joke, which is like people didn't know how long coronavirus is going to last, like, which is the funniest joke now, right? Spoiler alert, Rob, still going on.
Still going on. Exactly right. Exactly
Rob,
right.
do me a favor with this. One of my famous questions is for Rob. Too. Now, Rob delivers a lot of these techniques, but as a participant, Rob, what has to happen in a virtual meeting for it to be engaging for you?
They have to get me involved right away and this is just a rule of thumb for any type of facilitation, is get people involved right away. Whatever that is. They put me in a breakout right away, and I'm answering a question, I'm interacting with 2 or 3 other people. I've totally eliminated anything that I was previously coming to the meeting with. I'm much more focused in on what I'm actively engaged in. They've got my attention. So our jobs is to be fully present and then get everybody else present with us and engaged in the activity right away. So if they do that, boom, I'm pulled in. I'm saying, oh, okay, great. I'm involved. So involve me.
I love that because it is like a show too. And this is a theory that I'm pretty close. I think this is a truth, which is the first 5 minutes of your virtual meeting are the most important.
Yes.
And so and it's like when a show grabs you, now we have all these streaming movies and people they watch the first 3 or 4 minutes of a movie. And if they don't like it, it's gone.
No.
It is. Yeah. YouTube. If you look at all the YouTube statistics, the first 1 to 3 minutes are the most watched of a video. And then people come to a decision point somewhere around there, which is I'll continue on or I'm out.
So I always do a check-in right away. And one of the things that happens, I'll tell you the story. When this time, it was like just about this time 3 years ago when COVID started. So I was doing programs at MIT and I got a call from the office that said, everyone's off campus. We love your programs. Can you do them virtually? I had 3 2-hour sessions done in 2 weeks. But I was on that train. I wanted to do that. But I found myself, when I was leading meetings, whatever it was, I still didn't want to waste anyone's time. So I would just jump right into the action. I didn't realize I was missing something. And I was missing the opportunity to connect and get connected. So I came up with 3 principles for leading in a virtual environment. Get present, get personal, get productive. We can't be productive until we're in the meeting together. So then I put people into a breakout, and if it's just like 5 people, I say, what percentage present are you? What's keeping you from being here 100%? So I'm in a call with 4 people, 2 in the US and 2 in the UK. And this one fellow, Rez, says, want to let everybody know that right now, my dog is sitting right next to me. So if you see me looking down like this, it's because I'm looking at her. We almost had to take her to the hospital this morning. She's doing okay, but I'm going to be checking on her. So when you see me looking down, it's because I'm checking on her. I might have to excuse myself. Exactly. And and take her to the hospital. So if he didn't say that, one thing, he would be carrying this distraction himself, and he'd be worried about this. Or the other thing, we'd be looking at him looking down saying, what's he looking at?
Yeah, it's being weird.
What's going on? The fact that he told us, he engaged what? Empathy.
Mhm.
We felt for his situation.
Mhm.
We kept asking him about his dog. It also pulled us together as from not just a disparate group, but a real engaged team. And it made us much more productive, much more quickly, because we were invested in each other, and especially Reg, whose situation we had concern about. This
Yeah,
is the business case for empathy.
well, that empathy too. Yeah, empathy is engagement. And it's amazing because we heard a story that was like that. A gentleman that people were just checking in before the meeting started, and he said something about he discovered he had cancer, and the whole meeting shifted. Right, everybody stopped. All of a sudden, the chat blew up with people supporting this person, and it was positive, right? I mean, this is really. He didn't mean to do it too. He was just trying to share something that was going on in his life, but the outpouring of support and the attention, got everybody, people who were only partially tuned in, tuned all the way in and saying, I want to support you because, you're one of my teammates, you work at my company, I care about you. And so I think there
Bingo,
are elements.
bingo. That is, there's a secret in there. There's a secret in there. There's a secret in there. And that's all about, people don't care what you know until they know you care.
Mm.
And that business is not just, you don't hang your personality up at the door. This is what COVID has done for us. This is what virtual has done for us, because here we have this little box and we don't know what's happening on the outside of the box. It's cats, kids, and dogs are all over the place. And so we can either eliminate the distractions, we can minimize them, or we can normalize them. And when we normalize them, then we become humanized. And I think that's the key. It's not just transactional. It has to be an authentic connection, that we're here together and we feel for each other, and we work harder for those that we're invested in.
I have a whole series that I've been running because I think there's a big trend, Rob, right now where people want these virtual meetings to be better, but they don't want to learn any more technology. So as much as your glass is cool, like the number of people who are going to do it is kind of unfortunately low.
Very low. Very low.
And one of the best things that you can do to make your next virtual meeting better doesn't require any tech at all. It requires some of these things: vulnerability, authenticity,
Yes.
empathy. So think about that. Like, Rob, what's one thing that somebody, if they were listening to this this live stream now, what's like one way they could improve their virtual meeting instantly with no tech?
When they come in, if they're running a meeting, they could say, if it's a small meeting, they could say right away, I just came out of a meeting, long meeting, 2 back-to-backs. I really have to use the facilities. Could we take a 5-minute break? Would that be good for everyone? I don't know one person that would say, no, I don't want to, I want to stay here. Because they all probably have to go to the bathroom. So just that one consideration, one move of saying, okay, let's start in 5 minutes. See you, boom. If you're running the meeting.
Yeah, amazing.
If you're not running the meeting, and so have you heard of the 50-minute hour that therapists have? I don't know. When I was in the 70s, I used to like joke around, like, the 50-minute hour. What, you can't give us a full hour?
Yes.
What I realized is that 10 minutes is really important.
Yes.
Because what that person does when their client leaves, they write down their notes. They finish up the thoughts from the end of that meeting. How many of you that are listening right now go back to back to back and forget to say, okay, I'll remember to put all those, the final thoughts down, and then 3 or 4 meetings go by and you don't write those thoughts down. So finish what you're doing. Take a pause point. Take a breath. Do one of these exercises where you go like this, do a nice big stretch, breathe in, breathe out. This is what my acupuncturist shows me. Open up your chest, take a deep breath. Even if it's 30 seconds, shift. Open up the book. They open up the book of the next person that's coming in. They remind themselves of where they left off from before. They take a deep breath, and they allow that other person to feel like it's their most important meeting of the day.
The,
So
the tech tip that goes along with this, Rob, is you can set your scheduler, like Calendly and all these others. Don't say an hour meeting, say a 50-minute meeting. You can give yourself the 10-minute gap and make it not schedule anything during that 10 or 5-minute gap if it's a 30-minute meeting. Therapists and doctors have known this for years, and now in virtual meetings, it's something that you should do, because I think many people experience back-to-back and they found it exhausting, right, Rob?
Well, if you don't own the meeting, you can let everybody know, say, listen, I need to leave 5 minutes early. I have something really important I need to prepare for.
Yeah.
So apologies, but you can get done in 50 minutes what you can get done in an hour. I mean, you're given the time. It's like having a closet. You say, oh, my closet's full. So you make a bigger closet, it's going to get full.
Buy a bigger hard drive. All right. Well, speaking of hard drive, Rob, one of the pieces here is that you have done a lot of work on improving things. You've seen a lot in your lifetime in terms of changing. That's the best part too. We're going to get right as we get older, Rob. One day we're going to be able to go back to the kids going, remember that coronavirus thing that we lived through? We're going to be telling stories like that. But I want to know this. Well, you look into the future of virtual. So again, to me, I think you're pretty close to all in on virtual. What do you see as the future of virtual, and what do you have like a wish? Like, what is there something you wish you could do on virtual?
It's going to the holodeck. I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I guess it's Star Trek. It's having, in Star Wars, they would have the little image of the person, the 3D. I really hope it gets 3D at some point, where you can actually interact. It becomes very interactive. It becomes 3D, because it's still, it's two-dimensional. We're trying to make it three-dimensional by becoming more authentic, by becoming more real and more human. So it's really the moving towards this three-dimensional aspect of interaction. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I know they're working on things, but to be able to have virtual be 3D and virtual reality.
Well, I can tell you,
that's
Rob,
my big, long wish list.
I love that too. I'm a Star Trek fan too. We just came from Universal, and Universal, of course, is the king and queens of cinematic, and they have the Bourne. It's called the Stuntacular, and they have got one of the largest, and it feels like the highest density, LCD or LED televisions. And so you can't. They actually create things where they put in real things and they put in video things, and you're very close where you cannot tell which one is which. And then of course, for those who don't know Star Trek, the holodeck is you can actually enter a room and you can walk around an environment as if you were there, and you can actually recreate old environments, new environments, and other things. And I think one day, again, Rob and I would feel like we were meeting somewhere, and it could be somewhere, anywhere in the world. That's the cool part too, is that, Rob, without traveling and without spending a lot of money, except on the tech that we have, that we could have met here on the beach, right? We could be in Florida, we could be in Hawaii, we could be in snowy Boston, whichever one that we want to be in. It's our choice. And I think that's the other cool part. That's what I think also people don't realize here now on virtual, is that you do have control over your environment, and that you should use it to your advantage, right? If you want to go to a cool office, you can make one, and use that to your advantage, and you can start creating environments like this. This pretends like it's three-dimensional. And so there are a lot of things that we can do that are like cinematic and theater style techniques to continue to improve your virtual meetings. Anything you'd like to close with, Rob? If people listen to this, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Little things matter. You don't have to go all the way like John and I. We do this because we want to set the standard, or see what's possible. And we think it's fun. So I'm channeling my inner nerd here on this. Little things make a big difference. Just look at, don't have lighting behind you, have it in front of you. Let people see your face. Have a level set. Whatever it is that you can do right now to your current setup, do it, because it makes a difference. It'll make a difference. You'll feel better too, because you're becoming more aware of your surroundings. And that's the thing about executive presence that I work with. And I have a program called Effortless Executive Presence that I've just launched as a 16-week program. And it works on all of these things, plus connection, storytelling, and executive communication skills. But all of these things are about the impact that we have on the people and the environment around us. And if we're dealing in virtual, we have virtual teams, that's our environment. And we have to be aware of the impact that we have. One woman on a recent show, program I did this week, it was a number 2 in a series of 3 sessions, said, I put my camera on this week, and it made such a big difference. She had a really nice image. She said, I had always not put my camera on and thought that was good enough. But I'm putting my camera on and I'm realizing how much more I'm getting out of the meeting. And then one of the senior leaders said, and reinforced that and said, we're delighted to have you put your camera on, because now I can really connect with you. I feel more connected to you. So it reinforced the sense of connection. And I know there are a lot of people out there that might just be listening in, or it might just, I'm just going to put I'm not going to turn my camera on. If you're in a meeting, be fully present. Be in the meeting. If you can't be, let people know and go do what you need to do. But this idea of multitasking, it doesn't work, because you can't bring your full attention to either one of these things. And one more thing, John, here's my book, Leading from Your Best Self. And chock full, every chapter about how you can enhance your executive presence, enhance your poise, and influence skills. A delight to be together today. I feel like I'm right on the beach with you.
Thank you so much, Rob. I really, really appreciate your time. And the other piece here too, I want to make sure that people hear, right? All of you are executives, right? While Rob works with executive presence, all of you, as soon as you hit Zoom, right, can be and could invoke essence of an executive. And most of the time you're the leader of your own friggin' life. So treat yourself as such and think about what you can do inside of that. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure and check out Rob's book. Also on side of this post is Rob's website, so you can see that. And he also has lots of cool things, including him apparently standing on and walking on an orange ball. Thanks again, Rob.
Thank you.
All right, this is John Shin. Thank you, Rob. Thank you again. And, think about this. Imagine that Rob is now on the beach with this orange ball, and he's walking around here, and that he even has a green background. Now he's actually running Zoom. That's actually one of my favorite was it Facebook Reels and TikTok? There's a guy named Sweetbox, and he's like doing things like riding motorcycles with the green screen on the back. But the most important point that we really wanted to get out of here, pick one thing. Like this beach, right? Pick one thing that you can improve, that you can make better on your virtual meetings. And that I just hope that you feel that as soon as you invoke that, like the woman that Rob told you about, is that that as soon as you turn on that piece of the technology, it makes a difference not only in your life, but in your attendee's life. This is John Chen signing off from Satellite Beach, Florida. We'll see you next time.